Tell me about the knives.
So we decided to buy a Benchmade, and then we decided to buy a Benchmade clone. So I'll show you the differences between the two. So the Benchmade is much smaller than the clone. And you can see there's a color difference in the sheaths and the plastic handle. You can see here that there is a difference in the size, overall length, width, and the thickness of the blades. And with that, there's obviously going to be a weight difference. The Benchmade, 84 grams. 85, somewhere in there. The clone, 146 grams. So, depending on if you're very worried about your weight, you might want to choose which one. Now, the grip on the Benchmade is definitely much grippier than the clone. The clone is a very slippery plastic, but overall, the design is the same, just slight size differences. The hardness is also a little bit different. So, here's an HRC 55. Here's an HRC 60. What we've seen through sharpening is that the Benchmade is definitely a little bit harder, but the clone is a little bit easier to sharpen, and you can sharpen it a little bit more naturally. So both of these knives were sharpened using the same method, and let me show you how they cut. Very sharp. Now the clone. Here, let me get a fresh sheet so it's fair. So I'll show you here.
That's
Benchmade again.
different paper.
And the clone. A little bit better with the Benchmade, but both very good. Now, for me personally, I have smaller hands, so I prefer the real Benchmade versus the clone, but for the average person and not a Hobbit hermit, the clone will be just fine, except for the slippy grip. Now, these will both work really well. It just depends on what you want to do in camp and what the purpose is for the knife. For me, the Benchmade, even though it's a little bit smaller, a little bit skinnier, will do just about everything that I need to do at camp, while the clone will take a little bit more abuse. So if I'm going a little bit carefree, I would take the clone. But they'll both work very